Hi everyone, welcome on this beautiful Friday. We have a little bit of weird weather. It's sunny 1 minute and 3 minutes later it's blustery and rainy, but it's still really fun. Welcome, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you being here today and tuning in. So I'm really excited about what I have to show you today. But before I get going, I have a little tidbit from one of my favorite books on creativity that I love to share. I love to share that stuff with you. This one is How to Be an Artist by Jerry Saltz. And it's a great book. And you can read it in an afternoon, really. Or you can just take little tidbits one at a time, and that's really nice too. So let me share one of my favorites from this book. And it goes, it's chapter 14, Make Your Mark. If you're worried about drawing, because I get a lot of questions about drawing. Do I need to know how to draw to be a landscape painter? Well, yeah, I think you do. I think drawing is a wonderful thing regardless, no matter where you are on your journey as an artist, as a painter, whatever media that you're using, drawing's a good thing. If you're worried about drawing, start by making simple marks. Tell yourself you're playing, experimenting, outlining, seeing what looks like what. If you can write, you already know how to draw. You already have a form of your own, a style of making letters and numbers and your own special doodles. Don't you love how you write the first letter of your name? These are forms of drawing too. While you're making these marks, pay attention to the physical feedback you're getting from your hand, wrist, your arm, but also from your eyes, your ears, even your sense of smell and touch. How long do your marks extend before you need to lift your pencil to make a different mark? Do you lift the pencil or just cut back, never leaving the surface? Why? What does each action do? Which is better for you? Make those marks shorter or longer. Change the way you make them. Wrap your fingers in fabric to change your touch. Try your other hand to see what it does. Put plugs in your ears to see what silence does. All of these things are telling you something. Get very quiet inside yourself and listen to them. As you work, pay attention to everything you experience. Don't think good or bad. Think useful, pleasurable, strange, lucky. Glenn Gould practiced with radio and a TV blasting so loud next to his piano that he was free not to listen to what he was playing, to better concentrate on feeling it. Hide secrets in your work. Dance with these experiences. Collaborate with them. You're the leader. You follow. Soon you'll be making up steps too, doing visual calypsos of your own. Ungainly, awkward, risky. Who cares? You'll be dancing to the music of art, feeling what flow is. The art critic Harold Rosenberg advised artists, if you have no ideas, draw. If you are depressed, draw. If you get drunk, go home and start a picture. If there's a shooting outside your window, go on drawing. Carry a sketchbook with you at all times. Take pictures on your phone if that helps you to remember things. When your thoughts start racing, don't be passive. Get them down on paper. Cover a 1-foot square sheet with marks. Instead of filling the whole page edge to edge, think about how to use the space. Can you make two similar marks look different, exist on different planes, or do different things? Think about what shapes, forms, structures, configurations, details, sweeps, buildups, dispersals, and compositions appeal to you. Now do this on another surface, any surface, to start yourself thinking about what kinds of materials appeal to you. Draw on rock, metal, foam core, paper cups, labels, the sidewalk, walls, plants, fabric, wood, whatever. Just make marks. Decorate surfaces. Don't worry about doing more. Art All art is a form of decoration. Next, draw whatever happens to be within the square foot in front of your desk. Easel, bed, subway, seat, or lap. This can be tight, loose, abstract, realistic. It's a way for you to start assessing how you see objects, textures, surfaces, shapes, light, dark, atmosphere, and patterns. It can also tell you what you may be missing. Now draw the same square foot from the opposite side. You're already becoming a better artist, even if you don't know it. I love this. I was talking to some of my monthly people the other day, and I was talking about sketchbooks and showing my sketchbooks, and I was saying how much I love the plop yourself down and draw approach to drawing. And I think exploring mark making is the Pastellists in the group. That's what we're doing. We're exploring mark making and pushing ourselves to new ways of putting down marks, new avenues. And I had a question actually this week about style and how do I get my own style? Well, this is how you do it. You just keep exploring, finding new ways. How does it feel inside to make marks? And that's what being an artist is. So enough of that for a little bit.
So Marla, can you remind everybody what that book was? And
oh yeah, definitely. This is How to Be an Artist by Jerry Saltz. It's really great. It's a great little book, and as I said, you can just go in and you can take it all in in an afternoon, really, or you can just chunk it off and open it up every day and enjoy and delve into it.
And he has a really great Instagram page.
Oh, it really?
He
okay.
does, yeah.
Great. Cool. Very, very good.
Jerry Saltz.
I'll have to look at I haven't looked at his Instagram page. Okay, and I have to say that of course I have to talk about my new workshop, Adventures in Acrylic. We just launched that a few weeks ago, and I really have to say that workshop is about that extraordinary journey and joy of being an artist and really just painting your heart out. Just painting anything, and I really was really hot to just tackle just a plethora of subject matter because I feel like in myself as a painter, I only have so many more years to paint, hopefully lots, but who knows. And over time, I like, oh, I want to paint this, I want to paint that, what about this, what about that? And so I really wanted to create an avenue for even beginners or more experienced artists to be able to tackle any subject matter in acrylic, because acrylic is such a dynamic, just versatile medium that you can do mixed media with. It's just kind of endless. So I really wanted the Adventures in Acrylic to be that avenue for all artists interested in painting in acrylic. And I think one of the I wouldn't say drawbacks, but one of the things that I think holds people back from acrylics or makes people a little nervous about it is the idea that they're hard. They're hard because they dry so fast and they're hard to blend. So I really dug into that and showed through a series of there's a technique video that's 14 different techniques, and I show you explicitly how to do that. And then the projects are really employing most of those techniques, how to mix and match and use them in the project. So we painted everything from avocados to kittens to a portrait. So we really did just a really great range of subject matter. And after you really get finished with the course, I think that you'd really be able to take off with the medium and really do that. Just paint anything that your heart's desired and just really take flight, really just, dig in. And that was my goal with it. So head over to paintinglessonswithmarla.com and check it out. There's a link in the description of this YouTube video where you can find that. And Adventures in Acrylic is on sale right now for $110, just for over until May 17th. So that's just over a little over a week. And that's $39 off right now. So it's a really good deal. And members of monthly pastel painting lessons online get an extra $15 off, as that's part of one of the features of being a monthly member, is a discount on all the workshops. And we just added a little bonus lesson on miniatures, doing these little guys into that workshop. So I love doing these. These are a way to get some painting done without a huge investment in time. And you really just, when you get these done, you kind of feel super accomplished. And I love that about it. I love going to bed at night knowing that I did some painting during the day, even if it's a teeny one. So, and I think these get to be a really great avenue into larger pieces. They don't feel as precious. You know, I'm not sure why, what it is about them, but I guess I have some ideas. But okay, all right. So now today, on to our program for today. I have some special things today. I'm not sure how far I'll get with, I'm going to talk about the Peacock first. I'm not sure if I'll get to the wave. If I don't get to painting, doing some work on the wave, then we'll get to it next time. So if you're disappointed that I'm not painting the wave, sorry, but I will get to it, I promise. But I first wanted to talk about peacocks a little bit, because I'm just kind of all about them now. I'm kind of hooked. I'm just kind of obsessed with them. And so I've been researching them. And now peacocks, it's actually peafowl. Peacocks are the male. Peahens are the females. And that outlandish, extravagant plumage is called a train. And there's also a lot of scientific debate about the utility of why it is. Of course, they think it has to do with mating and all that. But, it's a pretty amazing wild display. And there are actual, I didn't kind of think about this, but there are actual breeders of peacocks that they're hybridized. And you might be familiar with some of the white ones, and I found out that the white ones, you think, oh, they're albinos, but usually, not that there aren't albino peacocks, there are, but usually those white ones aren't albinos. And I also found out that the iridescence of the plumage, which is it's so amazing, it's not primarily pigment, but it's interference of the actual physical makeup of the feathers. So that's kind of interesting. And if I would have thought about that, I think I would have come up with that. And they are polygamous, I guess that's how you pronounce that. So they don't mate for life. And they're members of galliforms. So they're like turkeys and chickens and all that. So that's, that makes sense. So they're omnivores. I guess they kind of eat anything, and I guess that's why maybe in some neighborhoods people kind of consider them pests, because they, I guess, but I don't know. But so kind of interesting to dig in a little bit. The other thing I've been thinking about with the peacocks is that they really remind me of mandalas, when they put their display out, and fractals, of course. So I've been looking at those too, which is really cool. Which kind of brings me to one of the books that I have been looking at lately. And this book on composition has some really neat stuff in it on design. And this is a really old school book that I absolutely love this book. You can tell how old school it is by the typography. It's really neat. But it's about notons, and for the landscape painters among us. There's a couple good pages in here. Let me see if I can find them really quick. I just love the whole book. It's really, when I'm talking about doing thumbnails and sketches in different proportions, here's a good example of that. More design stuff. It's a really beautiful book. Art Nouveau design. I love this. I love this stuff. I'm always talking about positive and negative space. So this is, I'm thinking about this a little bit differently than in the landscape, but it totally applies. Now here's some good stuff on landscape. Just seeing the design in black and white of composition. So let's see. But yeah, I would check this out. This is a great book, and I love the writing. It's really cool. Okay, so I want to talk today about that peacock that I started and how kind of from start to finish. And today I'm going to take it to that very, very finished stage for you. I get tons and tons of questions about this all the time. And so I want to just talk about my whole process of how I got to the painting that I'm going to show in just a minute, which I think for me is this was a really good example for me. I do this, I go through this process often, but because this was such a new subject matter for me, I think that it just, I saw it so clearly how I went through the process, and I wanted to share that with you. So the first thing was I started to see these photos of the peacocks, and wow, maybe that would be a cool thing to paint. So one of the first things I did was I did this little guy, right? That was kind of how it kind of got started. And then from there, I just got sort of fascinated and started looking at photos online of the peacocks. I haven't taken them myself, so I was going on Pixabay and looking at other sites. And also looking in Portland, where can I go to see some peacocks in real life? And are they at the zoo anymore? They're not at the Portland Zoo anymore because I guess they got kind of pesky, so you can't see them at the zoo. So you kind of have to look around for them. So I'm going to be doing that. Now, so then after this guy, I got kind of fascinated by it. So then, can we go over here to this guy, Kevin? So this one, so I started with this. I think I showed this to you guys before the other day when I started the one. I showed you that I did this. And there's a lot of aspects of this that I like. I like the paint application. I like the implication here of the flowers, and I think that that's pretty cool. And the way that the body of the peacock is kind of interacting with the background, I like that about this. So this was good. However, compositionally, this is an old canvas that I painted. There was something else on it. So I painted this over the top of something, and compositionally, it's not very good. It just doesn't do the peacock justice. It's just odd. Just feels awkward. It's not optimal. It's not bad, but it's just not what. Once I got it on here, like, okay, that's not quite right. Okay, so then from there, what do you do? Well, when I did this, I was really more concerned about how I was going to apply the paint than I was the composition. But then I think, oh, well, no, it's got to work as a whole. If you're going to take something to finish, you got to work through it a little more. So, where do you want me to go, Kevin?
Do you want to just put the other one on the canvas?
Yeah. Should we get it?
Yeah, let's get it.
I'm so happy with it.
Do the big reveal.
Yeah, I'll do the big reveal. It's not that big a deal, but I like the painting a lot. It's just fun. It's pretty. It turned out well. So here it is. Here's the painting, and I just has so much about it that I've been anxious to get into my paintings, the larger paintings. The Peacock itself, what an amazing, phenomenal subject. Then beyond that, just the quality of light and the paint application. I really like how it turned out. I also, again, just like in this prior one, let me go get this guy again. So there are things about this that I think work. The way this interacts, that there's some blue that's playing in the background here.
And just to clarify, Marla, you used the same reference photo for both.
Yes, I did. I used the same reference photo. Bryce, can you put up that reference? It's the same one. Yeah. And so these little bits. So you guys, after I worked on it on camera for the last live stream, it's finished at this point. But what was really interesting about it, it was more of like putting a dab down and then sitting back in my studio and gazing at it for a while, and then coming back and putting another dab. Like these little bits are really intentional. They're not just that beginning stage of a painting where you're just, have tons of energy and kind of piling the paint on. Then you're pulling back from that initial energetic stage and more assessing, what does it need? What does it want? What is it hungry for? And not that these marks aren't energetic, because I think they are, but they're a lot quieter and more intentional. And so I like that about the painting.
So Marla, did you use any palette knife, or what kind of brushes? I mean, did you?
I used a little teeny bit of palette knife in here, but mostly that same brush that I used when I was painting with you guys, for the most part. But there's a lot of paint on here, which I think is good. There's some areas that it's a little thinner, but mostly it's fairly thick application of paint. So what I want to show you today, something I get a lot of questions about, is I'm going to sign it. So I'm going to mix up the paint to sign it. I'm going to sign it, and then I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to show you some other stuff that I've done since this. And then we're going to put a varnish layer, so a gloss medium layer on it. And then I'm going to show you how I edge it. So taking it really all the way to that finished stage. And that's something that I think is really important. And once that gloss layer goes on, it's gonna be even more colorful. Now I do those steps in exactly that way because, first of all, I want to sign it, because before I put the varnish on, because I don't want the signature to be more matte than the rest of it. So then I put the varnish layer on, because I actually do want the edges to be matte. So I want the gloss to go on and then the edges to go on last. And I don't think there's a wire. No, there's not a wire, but I'm not going to put a wire on it. Everybody, you guys can figure that one out. But yeah.
I usually do that for you now.
Yeah, you do that, so. Especially those big ones.
Yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah,
so really quick,
tricky.
So can you clarify if you remember the exact brushes that you used? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was that number 10 Princeton long flat.
Just one brush?
Basically, very, I may have used one other one while I was painting, but basically just the one brush, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and mix up some paint to sign it. And I want to talk about signature a little bit. Signature, I've talked a little bit about, I think on the live streams about signatures. So I want my signature to be pretty. I want it to look good. I don't want it to be too big, but I don't want it to be too small either. I want it to be readable, but it's also still a mark. It's not how I sign my checks. How I sign my checks is more about, it's not very legible. So I want it to be intentional enough so that people know that it's me. I personally don't sign my name. I don't sign Marla Baguetta. I just sign Baguetta because that name is unique enough. I don't put any like PSA or OPA or anything like that after my name because I don't think anybody really cares, and it just mucks it up to me. It just makes it longer and messier, and I don't want that. I want it to look clean and good, and I also a lot of times sign my name with red, both in pastel and in acrylic and oil because I like the way it looks. And so I'm going to put out enough paint out here that it's going to seem like you don't need that much paint. But again, I need to get it the right viscosity and in order to get it the right viscosity, I need to put out enough paint. That's probably a little much. I'm going to add something to darken it just a teeny bit because I think that will pop out a little too much. So there's my bead box with my paint in here. So I'm going to add a little bit of, this is some raw umber. And get it more like that. And I know this isn't painting along, you guys, but this is information that I know I get a lot of questions about, and I hope is valuable. I've said this before. A signature can, you want it to. I don't want it to detract. I'm not going to say it adds to a painting. I mean, I think you should sign them. But one thing it shouldn't do, I think, is I don't think it should detract. So I'm going to...
here's a statement by Christine. She says, I find it helpful to photograph the work before applying the gloss varnish to avoid reflections that show up in the photo.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, you should definitely photograph your stuff before you put that gloss on it because that gloss just complicates it greatly.
And generally, when you have paint left over on your palette, you just scrape it up and chuck it.
Yeah, I do, because I feel like it's part of what is what it all entails. Let's just see.
Here, before you put it, let's get a good shot.
I just want to check it. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe we could put your hair up before you.
Okay.
Do that so
yeah. And. Well, can we lift it up, or can you get down there?
Yeah, it's
because I'll just lean down there and do it now. So when I sign my name, I'm going to sign it. As I said, it's just a mark, and I might have to do it more than once. I'll just see if I can get it right off the bat. And it's evolved, it has not been the same over years. You kind of probably don't want to like change it every week, but I think it is okay.
Let's get this shot real quick. So if you can look up at the monitor up there. Okay. What do you think? Is that good?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Maybe just like pretend for a second and see if you're gonna. That's pretty good. So let me zoom. I can zoom in a little bit more actually.
All right.
Let's get right about there, and then we just focus this a little bit.
See?
Whoa, 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right. So I angle my signature this way instead of that way, and I don't. I mean, the letters. I don't angle the whole signature. That's just a personal preference. I want to make sure it's in enough, because what if someone decides to frame this and comes in on the canvas a little bit? So I want to make sure it's not like so close to the edge. I also don't think it looks good like that. So I want to put it, and I think I want it about that tall, the B. Let me get a paper towel. I hope it looks good. I might get it, and maybe it won't look good. Let's see. And I make that E in my name just a line, just like that. And the T's just like that. That's it. I think that's not too bad. Let's see. That's it. I think that's right about the scale of that signature is to me about right for the painting. Any smaller, it's gonna fall away and not be obvious at all. Any larger, I believe it would start to detract. It's about the right value. It shows up enough, but not so much. So that's what I want. I want it to be kind of second read. So if you look for it, you could find it, but it's not going to pop out at you so much. Now, right now, to me, it's popping out because I just put it on there and I've been looking at the painting for a few days without it. So I'm like, okay, I don't think it's too much. Okay, so now here's my paint. I'm gonna actually put some of this red in here. I'm gonna put it right there.
And just to remind everybody too, we're doing these acrylic demos, and we're going to still do pastel demos. We're going to do watercolor demos.
Oh yeah.
But right now we're focused on acrylic because we just finished that workshop.
Yeah. We'll go back to pastel, but yeah. But we also want you guys to go to the website and look at the pastel workshops that we have there too. So we have plenty there as well. But yeah, I'm not giving up on pastel. That's my home. Yeah. Okay. All right. But what I want to show you now, while that's drying up just a little bit before we put the glaze on, is I want to show you what's up next in terms of these peacocks for me, because I'm just so excited about them. And I have a gallery show coming up later in the year, and I have some plans for that, but I think I should include some peacocks. I want to do some garden kind of paintings, kind of wild tangles of gardens in acrylic, but peacocks are part of gardens too. So over the course of the last week or so, I have been how am I gonna get my my peacocks into my gallery show? So can we go to the? That's okay. That's all right. Are we okay? All right. So I've been doing these thumbnails of the peacocks. Now, oops. What we got?
Just tripped. The camera went off.
Okay.
Yeah. Hang on just a second, you guys.
Well, it looks like it's back on. Let's see.
Is it? There we go.
Yeah, is it in focus? It's pretty good.
Okay.
Great.
Hmm.
That was weird.
That's weird. Is it tethered?
Maybe maybe it got bumped on the
Oh, could be.
on the power strip.
Okay.
Who knows?
Always some kind of little technical glitch. Okay. All right, peacocks. So these thumbnails are I just absolutely love doing these little watercolor thumbnails, and they're so good because, so what I did very intentionally, so I have some canvas that I'm intending to use for the paintings, and so I did all the thumbnails, the proportions of the canvases that I have available. So I have 2x4 canvases and squares. So I did all of these with the idea that, you know, some of them or a few of them would wind up being paintings. And so I grabbed different reference photos of the peacocks. This is that kind of mandala idea. They're just spectacular. And then, you know, so this guy, this is from this reference. So I'm taking some liberties here, changing this little crown, playing with the train and what is it doing, and letting it be more gestural, and thinking about this painting that I did and how the mark making and the strokes and just playing with the energy of it, what's going to happen in this proportion. Same here, same here, same here. And what's really great is I already can see these paintings in my head. The thumbnails, the watercolor preliminary sketches are that avenue in. I can find my way to the finished piece much more easily, so that when I get up here to the canvas, I know my path. So I know that it kind of can feel kind of hard to do the thumbnails and the preliminary work, but gosh, you know, they're so powerful. And as I was working on these, I already learning about how a peacock, you know, what are these tail feathers doing? What are these the orange gold feathers doing? How are the feathers when he puts on his display? What's happening structurally with him? What are the legs doing? What do they perch on? You know, where do they hang out? You know, what gestures do they make? All that stuff. Where do they hide in the brush, and what do they look like in the brush? All that stuff. It's really, I think, going to make the paintings even better. So I'm planning, you know, hoping for, you know, stuff that's even more interesting than this one. Oh, and before I did these, I started with these. These are just little scratchy, gestural ballpoint pen sketches. Now, I think this one is even interesting because this one is actually a white peacock and a dark peacock. But look, it's just, all it is this value, like a design. That's all it is. It's really kind of cool. So this one is just the mandala, all that stuff.
Hey Marla, just so this question doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Going back to the signature, does it matter what side of the painting you put your signature on, the left or the right?
I think it does matter. I think it depends on the composition of the painting. One thing about signature, so we read from left to right. So most of the time, I end up putting mine on the left because it's left to right. But sometimes compositionally it just doesn't work there. So I'll put it on the right. But to me, it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to go on the left, just because that left to right thing. But, you know, that's just my sensibility about it. There aren't any rules, and there aren't any, you know, I just do it that way because I just happen to like it. But, you know, you might like it at an angle. You might like it over here. You might feel that it balances it over here. You might not like it in red. You know, I just kind of do. You can change the intensity and the value of red, and it pops out just a little bit, but not too much, depending. Okay, so I just really was interested in sharing this stuff with you guys. So let's mix up some gloss medium, and I just want to show you that. And I think I've got it right here. And so this is just Utrix gloss medium, nothing super special. That's one of the things that's cool about acrylic is that, you know, it doesn't have a smell or a chemical, and doesn't take very long to dry. And that's one of the great things about acrylics. You know, if you're an oil painter and you do a big oil painting, you gotta let these paint layers dry quite a long time before you put the varnish on, because the paint can take up to like 3 or more months before it actually, you know, Kevin, I'm gonna,
oh, sure.
Sorry. Otherwise I'll be pounding. I can go in there and get it open, but okay, thank you.
And going back to another question, so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Where did you get those reference photos of the peacocks? Just
online. You know, went to Pixabay, and they're royalty free there. And you know, that's something new for me. I'm a big believer in taking our own photographs. I really am. But when it comes to, you know, if you, on the other hand, if you're not, I mean, I can't find peacocks, you know, that easily, and I want to paint them. So it is really wonderful to have that ability to go on and use other folks' photos, and that they give you permission to do that. And you can see that this is pretty far from you know what the photo looks like. It doesn't, you know, it's kind of not recognizable from the photo, and the other ones will be too, because I'm really going to take that liberty and give them that gesture and change the plumage and change the composition, change the background, put different, you know, flowers and grasses and such in the background. So so I think it's okay.
And why do you prefer a gloss coat?
You could put a matte coat on. I just like it when I hope it'll come across on camera when we get that on there. It's the paint layers kind of it just kind of pulls out the color in a really beautiful way. So I like it. Okay, so this is pretty. You could see, and I just save these things from, because I don't really cook very much, so unfortunately I do use these. Get some meals that come in these things. So I'm going to put a little bit of water, not a ton, but a little bit. Let's just try that and mix it up. And I'm using a nice soft sablette type brush, nice big wide brush, and get that water integrated in here. I think it needs a little bit more water. I'm gonna get this in here. You don't want to thin it down too much. And this, of course, is milky right now, but it dries completely clear.
And do you have a general idea of how long it took to do the peacock painting?
Okay, so I spent, what did I spend with you guys online?
Probably over an hour.
Over an hour.
Or maybe just about an hour.
And then the rest of it was slower because, as I said, I spent a lot of time just looking at it. And I come back to it, look at it, come back to it.
And technically, you're still working on it.
And I am still working on it. This is taking it all the way to the finish. It's something I really haven't done online, and I think it's important because these little details of this is truly getting to the finish line. And I always forget how long this takes. And if I have a gallery show, I'll like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, sign them and glaze them and edge them, and that won't take. But then if you've got 20 paintings, I always underestimate this, and can sometimes get too close to the deadline. Okay, I think this is pretty good. You could see the viscosity of it. It's a little, it's runny, but it's not. It's soupy, but it's more than tomato soup. It's maybe like I don't know, what kind of soup is that like? Right. All right. So then it's just not too much to it. If I wasn't doing this on camera, I might do this flat. I might lay this on the ground, but it's okay like this. This painting is got a lot of texture to it. You can see it kind of makes it kind of milky, but it's okay. It's gonna pull it together really nice. Now my signature has dried enough, I think. When I get down here, we'll see. Hopefully it won't be a problem. Get this and tip this on the edge so that I really get that edge. I'll move my notebooks so I don't mess those up. You want to really make sure you get good coverage so you don't wind up with a little spot that you missed. And see, it's going in the little thick spots of the painting. That's really cool. These darks, it just makes it richer. Let's see. I'm waiting I'm avoiding the signature just to the very end so that I give it all the opportunity to dry. Normally I would probably come back to this in a half an hour to make sure it's really dry, but I think it's going to be okay. Yep, it's fine. That's a great thing about acrylic. You can do stuff fast. Oil entails a lot more patience, which is fine. Patience is great. I'm a fan of patience, but if you're running on deadlines and whatnot, acrylic's really nice. Just want to make sure I get nice. And this painting's got a lot of texture and a lot of paint layers, so I don't really need to worry about the direction of the strokes or anything like that. I just got to make sure that I get everything covered and that I didn't miss anything. And I think I did. And it's not so thin that it's running and dripping and all that. So it's kind of the right, just about the right viscosity. So it's good.
So Marla, do you ever use a barrier coat under the gloss medium?
I don't know. You know, for me, I'm just a painter that I just believe in things being super as simple as I can make them. Like I don't use a lot of you know, blending mediums or other mediums, or you can use pastes and all that kind of stuff, and they're fun to try and they're good, but I don't do that. And I the thing about acrylic, they're so permanent and so strong that you know, I don't know that it's really necessary. It might be necessary, if depending on your style, to prepare the canvas in a way that it's going to give you the look that you want. Like if you don't like to see the weave of the canvas or anything, to me, I don't like to see too much of the weave of the canvas. I like to just pile on the paint so you don't see it. You know, in this case, you see it a little bit here and there, but mostly not. And so that's kind of my approach. But you know, it's so personal. Everybody's got their way, and that's a great thing about art. There's so many ways of approaching it.
Also, going back to an earlier question, the first Peacock, the one that's on the more vertical composition, you're going to keep that, right? Are you going to paint over it, or are you going to keep it?
I don't know. I might paint over it.
And you painted over that once.
Yeah, it was something else. It might have been a couple things. I think it was a goddess at one point, and then it may have been a landscape. And like, oh, I'm going to keep using it. And as long as the structure is straight, you know, and true, and it's fine. And in fact, sometimes the texture of the underneath layers can add to the painting. So you know, I kind of enjoy painting on something that's a canvas that's already had something underneath. It's kind of fun. I don't know. I'm probably going to keep it around a little bit because there are things about it that I like, and it kind of started me on a track. There are things about this painting that are similar in some regards to other landscape pieces, just in style and whatnot. But you know, it's the first Peacock I've ever painted, that's for sure. So yeah. Okay. So what is next? What's next is painting the edges. And we can kind of get started on that pretty quick too. And then, oh, good, we're doing good on time. All right. So now, edges. Now, that's another really personal thing too. Some artists like to tape off the edges and actually like to have the canvas and have it be just a clean canvas edge. But I kind of like the way it looks hanging on the wall with the black edge, because it just sort of dissolves, that black edge just kind of dissolves away, and it isn't as when it's hanging in your house. My walls in my house are not white, so the black kind of floats there a little bit better. And I just think that they also like they look nicer on the panels, and to me they just look nicer in a gallery too. Now when I first started doing large scale oils, way back when in the 90s or whenever I started doing that, for a while I actually painted the picture around the edge, so that I'd bring the peacock around the edge. But at that time, giclées were becoming very prevalent, and I had one of my galleries say that they felt like that made it look like a giclée, like a canvas wrap, so that clients would come in and have the impression, oh, that's not an original. So she asked me to paint the sides just a black stripe on the side. So I began doing that, and I really kind of like the way it looks. And so again, it's like such a personal thing. I don't tape off because I have a pretty steady hand, and taping off, sometimes it doesn't even work. So I paint the edges of my pieces with black gesso. So it's this stuff, and this container is black gesso with some water added, and so it's the right viscosity. And I already this morning checked it out. So let me just show you. This is an old brush that I used to use just only for painting the edges, but it's no longer very useful. But I kind of keep it around for fun, and also it could be used just for mixing. And that's what I'm going to do with it right now, just use it to mix up this paint and kind of show you what it looks like. I'm going to show you it's a little drippy, right? Got enough water in it. So this is not what this black gesso looks like when you buy it. It's this container has, I've saved an extra black gesso container that I use just for this purpose, and it has the right amount of water mixed in with it.
And can you clarify why black gesso and not black paint?
That's a really good question. It's less expensive. That's for sure. It's matte, and I like that matte look. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's right. Okay, all right. Now this, I have my apron on specifically today, mostly because of what I'm going to be doing right now, because this stuff, it gets all over the place if I'm not careful. So I don't want it to get all over the place. So Kevin, I'm gonna.
Yeah, we'll just do some camera work.
Yeah.
We'll back it up. And
yeah, it's a little tacky, but we'll do it anyway. But it's so great how quick stuff dries. Now I'm gonna start on the least obvious edge, which is the bottom. And that's so that I can get my game on for doing this, because it just is a little, you got to get into a little groove with it. And so I'm going to turn this away, and that's the other thing. And so here's my little pot of paint. Here's a little paper towel, because I might need that. And here's a brush that feels about appropriate for the edge. Now the one thing is, there's some paint buildup here, so got to be aware of that. But it's not too bad, so it's not going to mess me up too much. One thing, if you get too much, you can come with a palette knife and get that edge kind of cleaned up a little. You might need a single edge razor if it's super thick, but that's not too bad. All right, so I'm going to come in here. Now there's kind of two ways of doing it. There's the kind of pro way, the steady hand way, like this, and just coming along and getting it. And mostly I do it this way. But then there's this other way, if you're not, and this is not a bad way for the bottom part, it's this. Of course, right, you can do it this way, and you can just come, and it doesn't go over the edge. But sometimes sometimes it's not quite as clean to do it that way. So usually I like to do it the steady hand way. And so it just takes a little practice to get that like that. And see that paint is the gesso, it's a little thick, but it's moving. and I can move it to the edge. And I'm going to try to get that little red that's showing, maybe get that. So see, this does, you know, if you've got big canvases and a bunch of them, it takes a little time. And you can only really do two edges at a time. You got to let it dry because they got, you know, you can actually do 3, but it's a little tricky. So I'll just finish this one edge. See, coming along, there's that little bump where the paint buildup is happening. And I don't worry about it going over the back side. I don't ever worry about that. You know, if you're really, you could, I mean, if you're particular about that. Now, the other thing that I do is on the back side of the canvas, not on the front, but on the back side, in pencil, I write my name and the copyright symbol and the title and the date. If you put the date on the front of your painting, you date the painting. And so I don't do that in either in pastel or anything. I don't put the date on the front of my paintings. Because, you know, what if you have a show in 2020 and then again in 2021 and people are like, oh, well, we want your newest stuff. Well, that's old or whatever. You know, I just don't want to, you know, I want to keep track, but I don't want to make it a disadvantage. And so in here, these little spots in here, you got to kind of get in there and get those where the canvas meets and go in there and clean it up. So I'll just finish this line and then
and you want to spin it around and show the front?
Yeah, I will.
Then we got the edge real good.
And then, so, oh yeah, before I go, make sure you head over to the website, paintinglessonswithmarla.com, and check out the workshop. It's only on sale for, I think, 9 more days. So now is the time to go over there and check it out. There's a sales page that shows you exactly what projects are and what every chapter covers, and it's pretty explicit, and it's a good deal right now. I don't think it won't be on sale for quite a while. It won't be as good a price for quite a while. So we always like to launch our new stuff with a good price and make it affordable. Okay, that's it. And make sure you clean your brushes out really good. That gesso is a little stickier in a way than the paint.
So you want to spin it this way so we can see that?
Yeah, so
just like that.
See, yeah, so that edge is pretty clean. There might be like a couple little spots that you want to go back and fix, but this looks pretty good. I don't think that's gesso. I think that's paint. But yeah, you want it's a little tricky because I want to put the gloss layer on before I put the edging on, because I don't want the gloss to go around the edge. I want those edges to be matte, But the thing is that if there's any little bits here, then I might have to go back in and touch those up, but then I have to put gloss over those too, because if I touch up the edges, then those won't be have that gloss. Okay, so that's that. And I can't put the peacock back up on the easel for a little bit. Oh, I'll go ahead and do it. I'll put it back up there, and I'll just fix the black later. Yeah, I don't want to put it upside down. I'll fix that black later, but that's it. Yep. Okay. Alrighty, guys. So that's it. If next week I'll come and work on the wave, so that you get to see what's going to happen with that wave acrylic painting. And of course, we'll get back to watercolor, and we'll get back to pastel. No worries. I'm not going to abandon those. And so I hope you have a lovely, lovely weekend. Oh, I did want to say the monthly people, we're going to be scheduling your super stream for the month for next week. We'll let you know as soon as we have that set up and dialed in for you. And I have a really strong lesson on color and choosing color, and the difference between looking at your screen and looking at your photo, and some kind of digging into a little bit of science and color theory and how that's affecting our color choices and color picking in pastel. All right, so that's coming up.
Marla, really quick,
Yep.
just to address a few comments and
sure,
stuff.
absolutely.
So basically, this is just the way you do it. And if somebody else wanted to paint their edges beforehand, there's no rules.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, that's just the way I do it. Yeah, gosh, no. I would never
also,
say. Actually, everything that I'm doing, there's no rules to any of this. There's maybe rules of thumb. There's maybe traditions of doing things certain ways. But I'm the last one to say that this is the way you should do it. And the only thing I would say is that you should do is you should draw and you should make art. Beyond that, no rules.
So we could just say that these are your best practices based on your experience.
Yes.
So adding a little water to the gesso, that's another thing that you do that is not necessary.
Yes, the gesso can be, depending on the brand, it can be kind of thick when you get it out of if you didn't do that. And I find that it doesn't affect the opacity to add a little water, and it lets it move a little bit better on when you're painting it on. So
cool. Yeah. And stay tuned. We're going to have some more pastel live streams coming up as well.
Definitely.
All that stuff. So I think that's about it.
Okay, good. You guys have a great weekend. I had fun showing you this stuff today. I'm super excited about it, and happy painting, joyful painting. Okay, bye-bye.